Dog doing? He's committing hate crimes. The good thing is also, since I made this PowerPoint yesterday in a sleepy stupor, which I'm still in, by the way, is that I don't really remember what's in this PowerPoint, so we're all gonna discover this together. This one is the asexual flag, and this one is the aromantic flag. There is one for both combined. There is an ARO flag, but I like the two separate ones more. I think they have prettier colors, so that's why I choose them like that. I have a friend, right? I'm gonna reference this friend a couple of times, who's also ARO, and he really likes the ARO flag because it's like a little sunset, you know, that's nice. But I like the kind of cool tones of the purple and the green. I don't know, I think they're cool. Okay, first we started with definitions. I literally screenshotted the definition off of Google because Wikipedia is gonna give you a definition, isn't it? So yeah, I'm starting off like a high schooler giving a presentation which just Webster Dictionary defines asexuality as. But I mean, it's good to set a definition. We're gonna talk more about what that definition means for me specifically, and maybe also for other people in chat, if anybody is affected. That sounds like it's a disease. Is affected. So asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to others, or low or absent interest in or desire for sexual activity. See, it's like an umbrella. As is the case so very often with sexuality as well as other things. Umbrellas. It may be considered a sexual orientation or the lack thereof. See, that's a debate right in the definition. What the hell? It may also be categorized more widely to include a broad spectrum of asexual sub-identities. Yep. Many people can call themselves asexual. I guess the demisexual stuff fits under the asexual umbrella then. That makes a lot of sense. I think most people would nowadays say it's a sexual orient. Well, is it though? There's oriented aces, so maybe it's kind of like a separate thing. I would consider myself an oriented ace as well. That means that you're like, you prefer one, like, I don't really know how to describe it. See, this is the blind leading the blind, because I found out about this like a couple months ago, and now I'm trying to explain it to you and myself. So I do think it's like I'm more like on the hetero side of asexual. You know what I mean? Like if I would be into men. You know what I mean? Yeah, kind of. That one as well. Aromanticism is a romantic orientation characterized by experiencing little to no romantic attraction. The term aromantic, colloquially shortened to ARO, refers to a person whose romantic orientation is aromanticism. I mean, obviously. That second line is so useless. Thank you very much. I get what you mean. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. You get what I mean. That's nice. I'm good without bitches. That's the point. Good without bitches. Oh, I should have put memes in there. I have like 3 memes. Immediately, once I was like, yes, I identify as this, I went to Tumblr, typed in ARO Ace memes, and downloaded 3 of them to send to my ARO Ace friend and be like, haha, guess what? That's how I did that. I guess that's coming out, isn't it? Damn. Yeah, I guess that. The second line literally did nothing. I will educate you. To the best of my ability. But it's mostly talking about my own personal experience, so, you know. No, Zecke can't be ARO Ace. What about my parasocial crush? But that actually is something I would like to talk about. Not in a serious way, obviously. Also, hi, welcome, Jack. Isn't that, like, the perfect thing for an idol to be, though? Technically, like, if you were an idol, wouldn't it be great if you were ARO Ace? Because, like, right? No drama about hiding girlfriend as an idol. You're right. It would be ideal. Exactly. The math is mathing. We're making conclusions here. The perfect idol is ARO Ace. Because any fan, this is kind of problematic, I guess, but not for me, so it's fine. Any fan who's deluded enough to be like, my idol is actually, like, we're gonna actually be in a relationship or whatever. I don't really know how parasocialism works like that. Anybody who's deluded enough to think that is also deluded enough to be like, ARO Ace, nah, whatever. For me, she'll make an exception. So it's absolutely ideal. Don't let these labels define yourself, TBH. Stuff is fluid. I agree with that too. I 100% agree with that. I don't know. I don't have a PowerPoint slide for that specifically, but I was gonna say anyway. For a long time, I was like, fuck, who cares about labels? I don't want to label myself, but sometimes it's fun to label yourself, and you can be like, this is me, haha, look, that's me, and you can put it on your jacket, and that's very cool, and you enjoy that, and then other people come up and are like, that's me too, and then it's you guys, plural. So that's fun. But yeah, it's very flux. It can change all the time. Who am I? Oh yeah, I had this in my notes, and I didn't know why I needed to put this in there. But I guess, hi, I'm Zecke. I'm a VTuber. as you can see, I'm an artist. I'm a socialist Antifa super soldier, obviously. Actually, good segue, because we were just talking about that, because I can never not talk about it. And honestly, I don't know why I have to introduce myself bullet point, but that's me, yeah. That's me. I don't know. Does this tell you anything more about aromantic people and and asexual people? Maybe. I mean, I'm one of them, and I'm also all of those things, so I guess so. Anyway, my background. That's more interesting, isn't it? Existential Did it just change? Is my computer haunted? Did you see that the top text just changed without me doing anything? Is my computer haunted? Maybe. Did I just imagine that? Am I this sleep deprived? Okay, I'm kind of worried now. Low-key. My background is that I never really felt the need to have romantic or sexual relationships, especially when I watched friends get into relationships. And then I was like, okay, cool, good for you. Like, especially in school, because people talk about it in school a lot, right? Like, ooh, who are you crushing on? And oh my god, I want a boyfriend. It wasn't that, in my friend group, it wasn't even that big of a deal, mostly. But at school, you're also oftentimes surrounded by people that are not like 100% people you choose, you know? So I was just vibing during my time at school. Was fun. I don't know. I had friends who got boyfriends, and then it was always a little bit more annoying to hang out with them because they would rather hang out with their boyfriends. But I'm also like low-key a tiny bit antisocial, despite I think I'm an extrovert, but I'm also a tiny bit antisocial, so I didn't mind that much either. I was like, then I'm gonna play video games instead, or whatever, or do whatever I was up to doing, watching anime, I guess, at the time, if it was in middle school. So people would get into relationships, and I really never felt the need. And if like anybody asked, I was like, no. If any sign of anybody being like, I'm hitting on you, I'm like, actually, no, you're not. You're not even in the same room as me anymore, because I have left, actually. I've closed the door behind me, and you are not talking to me anymore. Goodbye. So that was pretty clear. But at the time, I just thought, well, okay. I was gonna tell you like a tiny bit of a lie. I was gonna say at the time I thought, oh, maybe one day I'll be interested, but right now I'm not really interested. No, I think in middle school I was very unhinged. So I think what I actually thought was that I'm like a godlike being who is evolved further than normal humans and doesn't need that sort of shit. But like, that's not something you need to say. You can just say that you didn't care at the time, right? Vibes. So I was vibing through all of high school and middle school and all of the schools with zero interest in anybody. Mostly. We get to the subject of crushes later, but they're confusing. They confuse me. So I'll ask you what you think of that. But I think we get to that later. Maybe. If not, remind me. Thank you. Signs, the movie. Look at these fucking bullet points. If ever a teacher saw this, they would fucking end me on the spot. This is very bad. Don't make your bullet points this long. Get yourself notes and bullet points. Anyway, every self-insert fanfic I've wrote depicted this honestly is so funny looking back. Depicted relationships that were completely void of romantic attraction or sexual attraction. Instead, I wrote and still write relationships that are very deep and even intimate without needing either of aforementioned forms of attraction. It's very true. My self-insert fanfic characters are always usually like siblings, or not. Even if they're not siblings, they're often siblings of like the people that I'm like most, I don't know, that I like the most in the media that I write fan fiction about, like, or they're like, oh, this is now my father figure or something, you know. It's always like, or like, this is just a very close connection. I don't know, the last thing that I wrote was a Shadow and Bone fan fiction. And they're very close, but they would never date, and they would never fuck, certainly not. But they're very close, and I've always done this, and I've never once thought, maybe this means something. Oh, there's crushes. Oh, I guess we get into crushes there then. They're just very close. It can be like even intimate, like I said. It's very interesting to me because I don't know how all that shit works. Like, if you can even have that in real life and stuff. They're like so close that everybody outside would probably think that they're dating these characters that I write, you know. We're all in my head here. But they would never do any. Fanfic writers unite. Let's go. And the second one, yeah, the second one is complicated because I don't really understand it yet either. And maybe if we talk about it for long enough, I will find some sort of understanding about it. We will see. Yes, write your fanfic, Alex. Write your fanfic. The only crushes that I ever had were highly obsessive and fictionalized. In retrospect, I think it was more of a fixation on a person rather than what usually constitutes as a crush. But how is one meant to know that without experience? Yeah, I'm very confused about that. Like, I guess because, okay, asexuality and aromanticism are both spectrums. So obviously people who are AROAs can still have crushes. I guess that makes sense. I guess they still can, right? But like, are they crushes? What constitutes a crush? What is the difference between a crush and just really finding a person very cool? I don't know. Evidently, I didn't really know then. I didn't have like a lot. I had like 4 in my life. About four, yes. One of which panned out a little bit, which we'll get to in the slides, but you know. Crushes are someone you want to be with in a relationship, yeah, but if you just appreciate them, then that's just appreciation. Well, that's the thing. We'll get into in a further slide as well, because I did want to be in a relationship at some point, and then I was, and then I realized I really didn't. Because like, how are you gonna really know? I think some people do know without getting into a relationship that it's not for them. I was not one of those people. I thought it was for me, and then I realized very quickly that it very much wasn't for me. And that of course kind of sucks for everybody involved. But we'll get to that, I guess. I think it's certainly possible to be ace and have romantic crushes. Well, ace for sure, yeah, but like maybe even aroes, because again, it's a spectrum. It's complicated. It's so complicated, isn't it? For me at least, crushes make me feel different than my obsession. Oh, really? Okay, tell me more. Because we obsess. We both obsess, so that gives me info. Calix, tell me more. Like, I want to spend more time with that person, and I'm eager to talk to them and get the whole butterfly thing. But way more muted. Huh. Because I do get very obsessed, which is probably the autism. Maybe. The potential autism. I do get very, very obsessed. And it was kind of like the same feeling that I thought was a crush all those 4 times. I've had it like 4 times. Should I tell you more about the other times? I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing. It's either like it's a celebrity, an older man, a friend, the friend again. Basically, more or less. Well, more like an acquaintance for the last time, I guess. I don't know. Well, do you crush harder when they're seen as unachievable? Yeah, probably. I think that's probably it, because like the first one's like a celebrity and an older man. They're both like things that you probably, you can't really imagine yourself being in an actual relationship with them. Although like the friend at the time, that was like more achievable, I guess. But also, it's hard to imagine. If you've never had a relationship, it's kind of, for me, I couldn't imagine how it is to actually be in a relationship when I didn't have one before. So I had to like have my first relationship in order to know that I didn't like having relationships. You know what I mean? So how did I realize? Well, it's not science anymore. By getting into a first relationship. Let's go. Never really dated anyone in your life, even tangentially, even remotely. You can still know what it means to be in a relationship, though, through observation and third wheeling. Well, that's what I thought. That is what I thought. But for me, I thought I knew, but I was wrong. Yeah, no. For me, it didn't pan out like that. So, by getting into a first relationship, yay. Funny enough, the story mirrors one of my Arrow Ace friends' experiences almost 100%. It was very funny when I told my Arrow Ace friends about this, because it was like, wow, I did the exact same thing. Started off like, remote dating is not the word, but like online, I guess. You start off online and then you meet for the first time in person and you're like, uh-oh. Although, to be fair, my uh-oh was a little bit earlier, but I then could still deny it. But when you meet for the first time in person, I guess you can't really deny it for yourself anymore. It's like, oh, this isn't what I thought it would be like. And for my friend, it was the exact same way. So that felt very, very validating. Just that my friend had this experience like in school much earlier than me. So yeah, pretty much immediately started feeling negatively towards the relationship once it became one. But I was in denial about it. I mean, obviously, basically telling myself that that was how it was supposed to feel and I was just new to it. But if I'm honest, I kind of knew already then. So basically immediately when it became actually a relationship and it was like mutual affection that was romantic, I was like, whoa, I don't like this. in my feelings. It's like, this feels weird. But then, of course, I over-intellectualize every thought that I have. So I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe this is like, I've heard about this before. People self-sabotage. So if they get what they want, they then, like, sabotage the thing that they wanted because that's a form of self-harm or something. I don't think I was necessarily prone to that at the time, but I'm like, oh, maybe there's something underlying that I'm not recognizing, and that is what's happening. That must be what is happening. It couldn't possibly be anything else, so I just kept on going. And, you know, it wasn't all bad, obviously, but, like, anything, I've did so much cringe, you know? It was cringe for me, like, literally, like, body cringe at some points when it was, like, really, like, when it came to, like, actually lovey-dovey stuff. Anything else, like, normal talking is obviously fine, because, like, you know, normally talking to people is fine for me. But when it became, like, lovey-dovey sort of stuff, I didn't like hearing that very much, I think. I love realizing stuff about yourself in the funniest way possible, in hindsight. It is very funny. It is borderline comedic, isn't it? So, you know, I was vibing with that. I was rationalizing it out like, oh, it must 100% be just self-sabotage or some sort of thing. Maybe I'm nervous, I guess. First relationship, maybe I'm nervous. That could be the case. Maybe that's why I don't like it. And then got, like, annoyed. I got annoyed and evasive. It's like, ugh, I'd rather do other things. And then I did other things. But then, planned meeting up at some point. And then we did that. And I was like, oh boy. I'm not gonna go into too much detail there, obviously, because, like, no, let's not. I mean, nothing happened. Not that you need to know that, but nothing much happened there. Which makes sense, obviously, because I was not interested in that. To begin with, I was already thinking at the time, like, oh yeah, maybe asexual. Asexual was the thing where I was like, yeah, maybe. Probably. Maybe no fuck, after all. Because if anything, talking about fuck is kind of uncomfortable, after all. So, like, no fuck. But maybe romance, yeah. But then I was like, maybe no romance. So you don't get the details of that, but after that, I was very certain. And then I was like, so how do I communicate that now? Well, fuck. And then I did that. And it was very awkward. It's funny, again, funny in hindsight, perhaps. I feel like aesthetically, like, speaking about aesthetic appreciation, I can totally get being bisexual. Like, I can look, that's also a thing, I don't know, that's something people question about, oh, can you even find people attractive? It's like, yeah. Yes, of course. I'm an artist, okay? I need to be able to find people visually appealing. Otherwise, I would paint still lifes all day, I guess. In my opinion, ARO-ace people are the more productive and interesting than non-ARO-ace people. Then that speaks to my narcissism. That speaks to my narcissistic tendencies. No, I think it's totally fine to be in love and stuff. Like, if you love and, I don't know, fuck a lot, all the power to you. You go, you fuck a lot. Me, not for me, thank you. Being able to look back on things and laugh at them is a really good thing. I'm proud of you. Thank you. It was a time. Low-key, it was a time. Maybe I should, like, evaluate the time a little bit more critically, like, actually at some point, but not here. That is not an on-stream talk. That's, like, a talk I need to have with me and God. You can be aesthetically attractive without it being sexual. Exactly. And without it being like, wow, I want to be in a relationship. FAQ. Woo. But why do you simp for people? This goes hand in hand, doesn't it? This goes hand in hand. This is something that people have asked about, obviously. Also, the term simp is changing. Changes. Linguistics are interesting. People used to say simp for very different stuff than what they say simp for now, but, you know. Why simp? Because their personality is attractive. That's a good reason as well. ARO-ace people can simp, is the answer that I wrote down here. Many, like, the imaginary idea of a relationship. I've heard about this a lot. But for myself, like I mentioned, I like the idea of a close relationship devoid from any romantic or sexual attraction. Yeah, I feel like that makes sense for me. It's a bit more... Why simp? Cause it funny. Ever considered that a loser? There's a variety of reasons, you know, if you, like, like a certain character a lot. Sometimes if I sometimes in media, you know, I will watch a show and then I will make, inevitably, if I like a show a lot, or a book, or whatever, or a movie, I will make a self-insert character because I need to interact with the media like that. Otherwise, I'm not interacting with the media. That's the only way I interact with media. It's my favorite way to interact with media, at least. And if I make a self-insert character, obviously they're there to interact with the characters as well as the world. Sometimes, you can establish your character, I mean, I guess that always works like that, not just sometimes actually, by the way that they interact with other characters. So sometimes it's also kind of like in relationship to like a power fantasy. Like, oh, this is the meanest, toughest, strongest character, whatever, in this one show, and also he's interesting, for instance. But he only like cares for and listens to and maybe even is afraid of my character, my self-insert character, because I need my power fantasies, okay? Honestly, that's the thing I do. Isn't a relationship devoid of romantic or sexual attraction just a close friend? Yeah, I guess so, right? And that's also what I'm trying to like figure out, but it's like kind of in the things that I write. Oh, it's like a soulmate, maybe, kind of. It's like almost familial, you know? That's like closer than like a close friend, but then also it could be just a very close friend. I guess it depends how you like define your terms. I like to reference the stuff that I write about because that makes the most sense to put it like in a frame of reference. Like these characters that I write about, they've been together for like literally thousands, plural, maybe not plural thousand, but hundreds, certainly hundreds of years, and would die for each other. It's that kind of closeness, but without like, you know, without either romantic or sexual attraction. And that can be a friendship, but I feel like friendship usually is not that deep, you know? But I don't know if I would need that in real life. Seems a bit much. Seems a bit much. I'm kind of busy actually in real life to have anything like that. I mean, there are queer platonic relationships in queer places that go over friends, but some go under romantic sexual relations. Yeah, something like that, right? But I also don't know if I would want that for myself. That's just what I like to think about, though. This brings up the issue that people perceive romantic sexual relationships as better and deeper than friendship and companionship. True, when it doesn't have to be the case. That is honestly one of the biggest, like, battles that ARO ace people have to face, I guess, because I feel like some people will make the claim that ARO ace people are not attacked as much as, like, gay people, for instance. And I think that's true in some ways, for sure. But also, you are constantly, every day of your life, you're, like, being bombarded with heteronormative imagery about love and stuff, just like gay people as well see that a lot, and you have very, very, very little like good representation. I feel like still there's not that much good ARO ace representation, and that's kind of like annoying. That's annoying. Yeah, I mean, sure. Which also leads to people not realizing that they're ARO ace. Maybe people could have realized that a little bit earlier. Yeah, legislatively speaking, you guys are more on the safer. I think so too, yeah, like, because, you know, there's not like gay marriage to fight for or anything like that. So I agree with that as well. Not only that, but a lot of people try to gatekeep the queer community from ARO ace peeps. That is true. That is true. But to be fair, I personally have not experienced any of that, which is very nice. You know, my friends are very nice people. My friends are, first of all, nice people. Second of all, also ARO ace on occasion. And third of all, very chill and cool. But yeah, that is also, that is an issue that I've heard about, that I've seen online and stuff. There's infighting in the community, sadly. There's always infighting. There's always infighting in the community, on the left and on the queer, which is also the left, but, you know, different parts. Yes, I've talked about kink and sex stuff and porn before. I did. How does that work? How does kink and sex and porn work? I'm a sex positive person. That's a pretty simple answer to that. I think people should be able to talk about sex, and people should be able to have sex if they want to. Oh, shit, I took my point before I could read it. When I used to talk about it, I myself was never really in the equation. I was always, like, highly fictional, because, you know, if you've been around for a very long time, you may have been around for, like, BDSM test quizzes, and I like the idea of BDSM, again, in a very, like, fictional sort of way, in a way that's very far removed from me as a person. I like the idea of kinks and stuff. I find that interesting, you know? It's like, it's interesting. But now more than ever, I am very clear that I don't want to try any of that out. I'm very fine with that. I'm very fine with never ever trying any of that out. But I do like to, you know, look at stuff. I can talk about things I have no interest in. True. Very true and fair and valid. And also, like, there are certain things that appeal more to me, but still doesn't mean that I want to, like, do it. Also, this one, again, it's like, I've prepared to defend myself at this point, even though nobody's attacking. If what's said above is true, why did I change? Yeah, it kind of I don't know if you ever noticed this. I changed the way that I talk about kink and sex, in that I talk about it less. Because I learned about the internet. Broader internet audiences take things very differently than friends you chit-chat with. At least I've noticed that a bit. It depends on, like, what type of audience you have cultivated, but, you know, you're on the broader internet. There's gonna be a lot of different folks there. Yeah, everything you say paints a picture with little to no nuance. That's at least what I felt like looking back sometimes. The unfortunate thing about being a content creator is that there are snapshots of you everywhere. Yeah, but none of them show who you were as a person right now. So growth is hard to grasp. That too. That is very true as well. And also, like, if you say something, people will misinterpret it. I think I've gotten better at saying things more clearly as well over time, but internet audiences have the tendency to misinterpret you, like, wildly. For a little while, I was really hung up on that for a little while. Everything gets taken out of context, and, like, you say one thing and then that's your main thing forever, and it's like, okay. Oh, I said one thing once, and then that's you. That's just like how people will talk about, like, characters in television and just reduce them to one trope that they've, like, acted on once. A character says they like waffles one time. Well, you sure know what this character is going to be depicted as, like, talking about and or eating all of the time. Yeah. Oh my god, Zecke said sex? It's like a montage. So-and-so. I mean, it's not that bad, but still, it's kind of the reason. Someone reading your comments in the worst possible faith on the internet? No way. Zecke said X. Let's make that her whole personality. It does happen, and it gets annoying. I know that it's, like, a joke and stuff, and it's not serious or anything, but as a content creator, stuff like that can get annoying. So, yeah. Also, again, I wanted to read my entire bullet point before I move on. I think this was the last question, so then you can ask me questions. Exposure to broader internet audiences has definitely pushed me to want to distance myself further from any depictions of sexuality. That is true. Oh yeah. I forgot that this was the slide. The only person allowed to make sexual jokes in my vicinity is this guy. Literally, I'm not a fan of sex jokes, right? Or even like, okay, I'm sex positive, I say, but like, most of the time when people talk about sex, I'm like, okay, enough. In my head, you know, I let them talk. It's fine. Like, okay, we can stop. Not Vosh. Yes, Vosh. Vosh talk. Okay, Vosh makes a lot of, like, sex comments. Okay, it will happen. Like, at least once a stream, we will talk about something naughty. Okay. And I permit it. It's okay. It's funny when he does it. Stinky Man spotted. There he is. My favorite stinky leftist streamer man. Yes. The freaking fade-in effect, I know. When I chose that for this picture, I like that. Yeah, no, I never find sex jokes or, like, that type yes, Jack. Or that type of humor very funny. But when he does it, it's alright. That's fine. He can do it. He's allowed. Only him, though. And maybe Calix. But Calix doesn't, like, joke about it too much. Okay, anyway. Yes. Give me your questions, fellas. Do you have any questions? Do you have anything specific you want to ask about asexuality or also aromanticism? I know it's in the colors of the asexuality flag, but it's aromanticism too. If you could go back and tell your younger self something about being aro ace, what would you tell them? Oh my god, that's such a good question. Thank you. I feel like I'm at a press conference. That's like a press conference question. Or like an interview question. First of all, this is a thing that exists, and you will meet other people who are this thing that exists. And don't be afraid to put some labels on yourself. Because I knew about AROs being a thing for a while, but I was like, ew, I don't want to put labels on me. I don't want to put labels. I'm not going to use labels. I was very against labels for some reason. I'm like, no, I'm actually a cishet because I just don't use labels. Well, maybe just do use labels. It's actually pretty fun. And your friends use them too, so why not? You know? You don't need to be different. Just use the labels. It's okay. since you said there's a lack of representation in the media, oh god, yes, is there any strong incentive to just go every single character is in X as Aro Ace until proven otherwise? Maybe not a strong incentive, but it is fun. It is very fun to headcanon people as being either autistic and or Aro Ace. I like doing that with autism too. Because I'm like, I see symptoms there. Those are symptoms. With sexuality, I don't know. I'm not usually that's not where like my thoughts go first most of the time. But you know, when you're further into media and you're really a fan of something, I like to imagine like X or Y character as Ace or Aro and something, and it's very fun. It's incredibly fun. It can be very fun. It's not something I do like all of the time, but when I see a post online that says Joker from Persona as Ace, I'm like, ha, true. He's so me, because I'm literally playing him. I mean, when I play Joker Persona, he is Aro Ace. Well, maybe not Aro. I might date Anne. In the video game, I might date Anne. That is fine. Which movie show do you think has the best Aro Ace representation? Now that's a great question that I don't even think I have a good answer to. Do I know any? Do I know any that have like explicit representation? I'm racking my brain. I don't even know. Representation must be overt or it doesn't count. I mean, yeah, it really doesn't. Otherwise it's just headcanons, which, you know, is fine. I like hinting at it and stuff. Sometimes I understand for big movie franchises, I also understand if you hint at it like more than explicitly saying it a little bit, because then I said this last time when we talked about the Spider-Verse stuff, then kids who have like very conservative who are living under very conservative households can get to see your media and still experience a little bit of representation, because it's not overt, because if it was overt, then their parents would not allow them to go see it and stuff like that. So I understand that angle a little bit, but I think we as a society should move on to just actually representation. That would be nice. It's good to have representation around you in real life as well. I mean, like I said, I had a friend. I still have this friend. This friend is still with us and also still my friend, who is literally Aro Ace and also had basically the same experience with figuring that out. Although I only heard about the figuring it out part of the experience after I told him my way of figuring out that I'm actually also Aro Ace, so that's funny. So I do have representation because gay attracts gay. I'm no longer the token straight friend of my friend group. Shockers. Yeah, like I said, I figured this out like at the end of last year-ish, at the start of this year-ish, somewhere around there.